Hello, everybody. Let's have a mystical conversation, the kind where we lose ourselves in the wonders of divine mysteries, share dreams from the other side, intuitive nudgings, and soul mission yearnings. I'm Reverend Sue Frederick, a Unity minister, master numerologist, and author of several books, including the Angel Up book series, the newly revised Sacred Numerology Workbook, second edition, and my newest book, Angels and Numbers, the Sacred Language of Divine Guidance. That book is available now on Amazon, and it will help you find your purpose and receive angelic guidance along the way. But I'm so excited to introduce our guest for today. She's a friend. I know her quite well. She is actually the angel that you will see her as when she steps up to talk about her story. She is the president and co-founder of Helping Parents Heal, an international nonprofit that shares a higher energy path for parents after a child changes worlds. She is the affiliate leader of the Phoenix Scottsdale group of Helping Parents Heal, a caring listener, and she publishes the Helping Parents Heal monthly newsletter. Elizabeth attended and taught at UNC Chapel Hill for undergraduate and graduate school and at the Université Paul Valéry in Montpellier, France. Elizabeth is the compiling author of Life to Afterlife, Helping Parents Heal, the book, and she's a certified yoga instructor who teaches healing yoga. Elizabeth has four children, two of whom are in spirit. Chelsea, who passed on when she was 2 days old, and Morgan, who transitioned at the base camp of Mount Everest in Tibet while on a university exchange program when he was 20 years old. She also has two beautiful daughters, Alix and Christine. To learn more, please visit helpingparentsheal.org. Hello, Elizabeth.
It is.
All right, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel so grateful to be here and to be able to be in your presence with all of these kids as well, who I'm sure are following me today. And anyway, I'd love to be able to tell you just a little bit about how I got here. And it's kind of a different story, and it's a little bit difficult because of the fact that I've had two children transition. The first child was Chelsea, and she transitioned when she was only 2 days old. And this was in Montpellier, France. And I was there living with my wonderful French husband, and I had a very difficult pregnancy. I had been in the hospital for 2 months, and then at the end of 2 months, I started having, first of all, I lost my water, and then I was starting to have contractions. But because of the fact that I had been on this IV for such a long time, they had to do a cesarean. And when Chelsea came out, her lungs were crushed because my gynecologist had made sure that I kept her inside of me as long as possible, but I felt that she was moving less and less as she was. And by the time that she did get out, her lungs were crushed. So they put her on a ventilator, and they do this in France at the time they did it for 72 hours. So she stayed on a ventilator for 72 hours, and then they took her off, and she transitioned, which was incredibly difficult. But at that time, Morgan, my eldest son, was at home, and he actually was staying with my mother-in-law, and he was 2 years old, and he really needed me. He was having asthma attacks because my mother-in-law had two very hairy cats who I loved, but unfortunately they were difficult in terms of allergies. And so he just was constantly sick. I wanted to be able to be taking care of him because we understood that it was the cats, but there really wasn't anything that we could do about it. So getting back home to Morgan was the way that I healed. I really truly believe that he's the reason that I was able to heal from the transition of Chelsea. And then later on, Morgan, when he was almost 21 years old and a beautiful young man who had gone through his life, who had done some incredible things during his life, he had visited three continents by the time he was 3 weeks old, actually, because my parents lived in the States, I lived in France, and my in-laws lived in Africa. So he started out traveling and he never stopped. He had the travel bug. He was so interested in going places. So it's not unusual that he transitioned at the base camp of Mount Everest in Tibet, which is a place that he had always wanted to go because I had lived in India and he was fascinated by the Buddhist religion, which is not really a religion, it's more a lifestyle. Um, and he
Elizabeth, tell the amazing part of how you heard that he was transitioning and what happened.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. So he did get to go to the base camp of Mount Everest. It was a school trip, and he went with 13 other students. They landed in Lhasa the night before, and Lhasa is 11,000 feet. And they immediately the next day boarded buses to go up to 19,000 feet. And the whole way, they were throwing up, they were getting off the bus to throw up. They were actually urinating on themselves because of the fact that they were having trouble with altitude sickness. And this was something that no one really understood because all of these kids um, were traveling by themselves. They were all part of this group, but initially there were going to be two professors going with them. And unfortunately, those two professors from U of A were not able to go. So there was a Chinese tour guide with them who only wanted to get them up to the base camp before sunset, which makes sense. And so he was pushing them up the mountain. And by the time that they got up, Morgan, who had been holding people's heads, he was helping them out. He could speak Chinese better than anyone else on the trip because this was his second time being in China. So he was kind of like the big brother to everyone. But by the time that he got up to the base camp, he had a terrible migraine and he told everyone that he was going to go to bed. He took a Benadryl, no, not a Benadryl, NyQuil, excuse me, because that's all that he had with him, and he went to sleep. And in the middle of the night, he got up. It was in a yurt, which is a big tent where all the kids were all sleeping. He was going up to the different kids and calling them by the wrong name, which is also a sign of altitude sickness. And then in the morning at 9 o'clock, when they were supposed to go, Morgan was still sleeping. And so one of the boys went to wake him up, and he was foaming at the mouth and couldn't wake him up. So that boy, whose mother is a doctor in Seattle, called his mother, and his mother said, "Get him down the mountain as quickly as possible." So they loaded him onto the bus, and Morgan was 280 pounds, 6'7", so it wasn't an easy task, and started down the mountain, and Morgan stopped breathing. But by that time, I was already in contact with the group leader, who is a professor at the University of Arizona, but he was in Nanjing. And he gave me the number of Morgan's roommate, Colin, and I called Colin, and Colin answered, and he said, "Miss Boisson, it doesn't look good." Morgan stopped breathing on the bus. We dragged him off the bus, and we're doing CPR on him on the ground right now, but he's not breathing. And so I said, "Please put the phone up to his ear." And I immediately said, "We love you, we're proud of you, and don't be afraid." And I got the most incredible hug from Morgan. From
And that hug
Yeah.
changed everything, right? I mean,
Changed
that
everything
showed
in my
you.
life.
Yes.
It did.
The hug from Morgan that changed the world.
Oh, not the world, but definitely a lot. And I must say that having a hug like that, made me realize immediately that love is eternal, that Morgan was not gone, and that I was going to survive. And in fact, my two daughters, who were coming home at the time, and they had been at this thing called Fear Farm, which sounds horrible, with their boyfriends. It was right around Halloween. So they came into the house. They were dropping to their knees, and they were bawling. And I said, no, 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 no. Morgan doesn't want us to be sad. And I'm not that type of person. Morgan is, he has my heart. He is just so important to me. I spoke to him almost every day while he was in China, while he was in France. Everywhere he went, he would always call me. So for me to be able to say, no, Morgan doesn't want us to do this. And I said, let's sit on the sofa. Let's figure this out. We're going to be okay. And in fact, we had just gotten this little teacup Yorkie 2 days before when Morgan left for Lhasa. And Morgan hadn't seen him yet. We didn't know what to call him. And so I said, okay, kids, how about if we call him Captain, which was the nickname from his football team when he was in high school. And they all thought that that would be wonderful. It's kind of strange to name a little teacup rookie captain, but it fit him so well. He was just so in charge. And he really helped us
Mm.
to move forward and heal. And
Were you able to, after this happened, did you have constant signs from Morgan? Or, when other grieving parents talk about the experience, it's always so interesting to say, did you know for every day have a sign, or how did the signs emerge?
that's a good question. One of the things that was the biggest sign for me was that whenever I started to feel sad, I would feel him hug me from the inside. And my girls always said, Mom, that sounds kind of weird. Hug you from the inside. You got to figure out a different term, but it truly was hugging me from the inside. It was almost as though I had a glass of red wine that I was drinking and that it all went down and calmed me down. Not that people should be drinking red
Right.
wine. That's not necessarily what everybody should do, but it just felt that way. And I couldn't cry. I never, in the very beginning, it wasn't something that made me nervous that I wasn't crying, but I just didn't. And in fact, um, all of the moms on the football team would come to see me and they'd say, Elizabeth, you love your son so much. This is just this is just a period of time where you're not sad, but all of a sudden it's going to hit you like a brick wall. And I kept
Elizabeth, do you think you were having a shared death experience like I talk about with Paul? Because I was in that elevated state too. Did you feel that Morgan was kind of showing you the world through his eyes or in a different way?
exactly. And it was kind of amazing because I was here in Cave Creek in the office and he was over in Tibet, but I felt so loved. I felt so happy. And here I'm learning that my son has just transitioned, but I felt like I was going through exactly the same thing that Morgan was going through. And I realized this isn't bad. We're the ones that suffer here on.
Right.
They don't suffer at all. They have so much fun. And, it's interesting because we had a medium on last night, and she was saying one of the things that I could reproach them just a little bit is that they don't get how hard it is for
Right.
us here, which we don't want them
Well,
to.
we
They
don't
don't get it.
remember it when we cross. I mean,
Yeah,
once
we
we're in
don't.
the soul world, that's why we write these soul plans for a lifetime that include grief, because we don't remember how painful things are.
And then we completely forget all of that pain, all of that suffering as soon as we transition.
That's right.
And so that certainly helped me. But I also had so many other signs that were coming every single day, constantly, about bobcats. Morgan was a wildcat at the University of Arizona. I was seeing bobcats in the Spurcross preserve when I would be hiking there. I would also see red Toyota Tacoma trucks all the time in series of threes. And that's his truck. And they would be coming towards me on the road. Whenever I felt like I had an important decision to make, I would see those trucks. And I always knew that I was making the right decision. I also,
And how did you get inspired to start helping parents heal? Like, tell
oh
me
my
that
goodness.
experience.
That was definitely the shared death experience. It was so amazing. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm having this incredible experience with my son. Everyone must have this same experience with their children when they pass, because this is something that's available to all of us. But for me, I think that the fact that Chelsea had already transitioned made it so that I was maybe more open to this shared death experience with Morgan. And because I realized very quickly that not all parents have these incredible revelations when their children pass.
Because didn't you go to a grief support group for parents? And, well, go ahead, tell that story.
Well, yes, there were support groups that existed at the time, and I tried out a lot in the valley, and I wanted to go and tell about all of the signs that I was getting from Morgan. And some of them were physical. Some of them were things that were happening in the garage, where we would have doors that would be pulled back in the ceiling that there's just no way anybody could get to, and things that were just amazingly evident. And when I would go to these different meetings, I'd want to talk about Morgan, but also hear about the signs that other parents were getting. And I was told that I wasn't allowed to talk about those things. So I would get out to the parking lot and people would surround me and say, I'm having the same thing happening. Tell me more about what's happening to you.
I
And
love that because you're the five path Aries. You're here to attract people to you because you have a message that they
oh,
need. And that brought you to helping parents heal.
well,
I,
it did. And one other thing is, I must say that the same groups later on, probably 5 years down the line after that, invited me back to present about the signs that I was getting
I
in
love
two
that.
different groups like that. So they actually became much more open to listening to information about the signs, which was
Well,
exciting.
I don't think the average person understands what helping parents heal has become. Like when I tell people, 30,000 members, across the world, around the world, and nightly live video and everything, they're so blown away. Like, how many members do you have? Tell us about what you do every night for the big group and all the free services that Helping Parents Heal offers.
I would love to. And it's true that we have 32,000, I think, on the Facebook group, but not everyone is in the Facebook group because a lot of people don't like using social media, which
Right.
I completely understand. So we also have in-person groups that are throughout the United States. We have them in Mexico, in Canada, as well as in Peru and in Brazil. And then we have the United Kingdom, Norway and Sweden, as well as Italy, and um, moving downward. We're going to be having a group in France pretty quick too, which is very exciting. Romania as well. And then we have United Arab Emirates as well as India. We have a really huge presence in India, as well as Australia, New Zealand, and Hong Kong.
This
And
is so
so
amazing, Elizabeth.
well, it's nice to be able to have affiliate leaders who are all over that way because
Mhm.
um,
It's
everyone
like
has,
we have one here in Phoenix, so that every month you're running the one in Phoenix. And when parents lose a child, somebody will go, "Oh, you need to come to this meeting and meet Elizabeth Boisson." And they do, and their life is changed.
oh, I don't know if their life has changed, but it does help enormously to be able to be in a community of parents who understand.
And
And
what would you say is the primary thing that people are learning when they step, even if they're tiptoeing into a Helping Parents Heal meeting or a Helping Parents Heal video? What are they learning that's different from what they get in a regular grief support group?
well, I think that the most important thing is that they learn that their kids are happy, healthy, and home. We're just visiting and we're in school. And so we're here to learn things. We're not supposed to leave. We're supposed to stay here in
Right.
spite of the fact that our kids are on the other side. And our kids are home, but they're also helping us with everything that we do here.
And
There
that
are
we
big,
can have a new relationship with them. I think that's what you give parents is this idea they don't have to talk about their child in the past tense.
never.
Now their child is in spirit. So how can they learn to connect that way? And I think you, with all your videos and speakers and classes, you're teaching parents this new language of here's how I connect with my son now. It might be different, but it works.
Exactly. And, it is, I think one of the things that sets us apart the most is that we teach parents to connect with their children on the other side. And there are so many different ways. Obviously, through numerology, angels, all of these different modalities, but also yoga, as well as meditation, breath work. We also have sound healing. We have a lot of different speakers who come to speak about mediumship as well and learning to actually develop those areas of the brain that may not have worked as much earlier in our lives that we really want to get to work now so that we can communicate with our kids in spirit.
And
But
at the
what
conference, you also have speakers who talk about the research and the science of
yeah,
life after death, which is so great. I mean, Mark Anthony and all the
and
scientists who come up and talk
yeah.
about that. It's so great.
Well, Dr. Gary Schwartz as
Right.
well, who is just amazing when he speaks about, but yes, Mark Anthony, as well as Dr. Mark Pitstick, who also speaks about these things, as well as Dr. Jeff O'Driscoll, who is actually Shining Light Parent himself, as is Dr. Mary Neal, who had a transformative life experience, and she had a near-death experience and actually found out that her son was going to transition at a certain age, and he did, but she knew exactly where her son was, which was wonderful. So she was able to understand that in spite of the fact that he had transitioned, he was in a beautiful place. She didn't want to come back. She wanted
I
to
know.
stay there.
I love her story. But
Yeah.
before we go to the conference, I just want to talk about if a person right now is listening and they want to go to the Helping Parents Heal website, they go to helpingparentsheal.org, and what are they going to find there?
So on Helping Parents Heal on the website, we have all of our caring listeners, and these are parents who are volunteers who have gone a little bit farther down the healing road and they reach a hand back to help others forward. So Dr. Mark Pitstick and Lynn Holohan organize all of them. There are 36 of them. They speak 11 different languages.
And they
So
do it for free.
and they do it free of charge, and they're very uplifting. So it's something that I encourage people to use because their phone numbers are right on the page. Their emails are as well. Just text them and say that you'd like to speak to them, and they'll be available. We also have all of our affiliate groups that are all around the world, and then we also have all of our YouTube videos. We've got about 950 YouTube videos from the very beginning when we started, especially during COVID, doing all of our meetings online
And
instead
these
of
are all videos of speakers and
that's you.
meditations.
Yes.
I'm doing some of them, and you have mediums doing readings. It is such a fabulous education for anyone.
Well, and I know that lots of parents, when they first start this journey, they kind of binge watch those YouTube videos, which
That's
is
right.
wonderful. But I
Because
would,
they do that before they actually step in and join a meeting because it gives them the courage.
yeah, I think so. But I think that it's important to know that you can find those on our website broken down into categories. But it's also a really good idea to join our YouTube channel, which is just helping parents heal, because that way every time that one comes out, you're able to see it right away. And there are a lot of gallery readings by reputable mediums who work with helping parents heal, who are parent recommended mediums. We also have afterlife experts who talk about different subjects in the afterlife community. We have sound healing, we have meditations, we have yoga as well. We have, there are just all different categories. Oh, shining light parents. So these are parents who have written books or who are doing certain healing modalities themselves that we spotlight. But if if anyone is interested in learning a little bit about helping parents heal, those videos are a great way to do it.
And
And
talk
then,
about the book you put together, Elizabeth.
oh, thank you. Yes, I compiled this book. So, first of all, just want to highlight this book
Oh
because
no.
this is a book that just came out recently, and it's my favorite of all of Sue's books. So Reverend Sue
Oh,
put this together, and it combines the angel work that she does with the numerology. So it's something that is incredibly healing for all of our parents. I mean, this is kind of the essential book to
oh,
numerology and angels that it has everything that you need in it.
that's
So
so
this is a
sweet.
lot of fun.
Now you guys can see why I love Elizabeth. She's an angel. She has the greatest heart of anyone I've ever known.
No, but it's true. I mean, I truly love this book. And then this book right here, Life to Afterlife, Helping Parents Heal, the book, is based on a documentary that was done about the parents of Helping Parents Heal. So there are 20 of us that were in it. And this book is now on audiobook. So if you're interested in being able to listen to it in the car, which is what I like to do with all of my books right now, it's really easy to do so. So there were
And it
20
has
parents.
everybody's story and a picture of their child, right?
It does. So,
Yeah.
for instance, this is Lori Savoy's son,
Aw.
Garrett. Lori Savoy is one of our board members. This is Austin, who is Kim's son. I mean, they're all absolutely beautiful
Show us
children.
Morgan. Show us Morgan while
So
you're
this
in
is
there. Oh,
Morgan
Morgan.
right here.
Morgan launched all of this, everybody. He's a true angel in heaven and here.
Well, thank you. Goodness gracious. And
And
then
now tell us about the glorious conference, Elizabeth. Your conference blew my socks off in 2022 when I was invited to speak at my first conference with you. I had spoken at other conferences, IONS, and a lot of different groups. And when I spent 4 days with you at that conference, my mind was blown. It
oh,
was the highest frequency, most joyful experience. And, we had how many grieving people attend these conferences?
there's 1,100
I mean, you
and
would think when you hear that. In fact, the hotel staff was saying, boy, we had loaded up on Kleenex. We thought this was going to be a really depressing group. And and they said you all were the most uplifting, kind, happy group we've ever had here because we were all talking about our experience with spirit and connecting with your kids and my husband and all the people in spirit and all the speakers were so inspiring. There was not a moment that anybody could feel that life was hopeless because all the tools were being taught. Every speaker offered tips for how to connect to spirit. It was the most uplifting, life-changing thing. And I've just been completely enamored with helping parents heal ever since.
Well, thank you. And I can't take all the credit, that's for sure. Irene Vuvalides is a huge part of this, and she's really the person who's always in contact with the Sheraton, which is wonderful. And I am so grateful to all of our presenters who come. We always get the best presenters, and they all want to come back, which is always
Right.
so wonderful as well. So you're going to be there this time again,
In
which is very
August, yeah.
exciting. And I'm just going to go through a few others who are going to be there, which normally I should be able to do without even looking at anything, but I'm going to do it in our alphabetical order. So we have Mark Anthony, who's incredible, Suzanne Giesman, Maureen Hancock, John Holland, who's new this year, David Kessler, who had come 2 years ago, Dr. Mary Neal, Dr. Jeff O'Driscoll, Jeffrey Olson, Dr. Mark Pitstick, Dr. Gary Schwartz, and Gordon Smith, who's going to be by live stream,
Mm.
as well as many other incredible speakers, including Reverend Sue Frederick. We have Farah, who's going to be presenting, as well as Mitch Ott, who's a new medium. Doctors Linda and Earl Bachman are also going to be presenting, who were presented to me through you. So I'm very excited about that.
And the good news for people, Elizabeth, is that even if they can't attend in person because it's in August in Arizona at a resort, you're going to live stream most of it, right?
I'm live, yeah, we're live streaming all of the keynote speakers and some of the presenters as well. So we'll have quite a few that will be live streamed. And I was just going to look here because there are some other people that I wanted to just mention who are new this time. Um, but we always try to include some new people each time that we're doing these conferences. And Tina Powers, obviously,
Yeah.
as well as, um, let's see, we
You know,
have,
all I can say to any person who's watching this who has a child in heaven, I promise you it is worth your time, your energy, whatever, to either show up in person, which is the best way to experience it, or to get the live stream because it is truly it's life-changing. I always say it's frequency shifting. It shifts our frequency to such a high level that we were actually I was seeing spirit nonstop after every conference. It just opens that portal, you know. So,
it does. And plus, we had all of those kids attending. So we had
right.
1,100 parents, but then every single kid was there. So that definitely makes everything a little crowded. And I was also just going to say that when you walk into the reception area where people are registering, I think that everyone can feel the energy shift. It's just a huge,
It
it's
is.
kind of like a love fest. And
Because you fill the whole resort. Every single
yeah,
person
we do.
staying.
There's nobody else, and we
Yeah.
actually have another hotel that we fill as well. But what I was going to say too is that we only have 18 spaces available now,
Mm,
out of the 1,100. So if you are interested, if
yeah.
you are wanting to join us, please try to sign up as quickly as
And they
possible.
can do that on the helpingparentsheal.org website, correct?
There's a highlighted tab that says 2026 conference, and they can do
Awesome.
so there. Um, but we know we always have some people who will cancel. So we know that with the attrition, we'll fit everybody that's supposed to be
Right.
there in. Because as we were thinking just the other day, it's hard to believe this, but the other conferences always included parents whose children had transitioned just a few months before the conference ever happened. And
Mhm.
so we still have to have some space for people who might actually be joining us that we don't even know about right now. So
Right.
anyway, but
I met, you know, when I was at the
that,
last conference, you know, everybody hangs out in this certain bar, restaurant area. And I remember sitting at one of these open long tables, and the mom right across from me had lost her daughter 3 months before. And she was in such a state of grief, as you would imagine. And the whole table wrapped. energy around her, filled her with so much love, just supported her through the whole conference. So it's amazing that you offer it for the raw grief of 3 months, as well as people whose children crossed, 10 and 20 years ago, because it has something for everybody.
Well, and I truly believe that being able to have that realization that our kids are still here and that they are happy, healthy, and home at the same time really does allow a parent to move forward very quickly, because once you know that they're okay, even if we're not okay yet and we're just having such a hard time with it, to know that our kids are okay is all that really matters.
And that it's not the end of their story.
Yeah.
What grief tells us in this physical world is once somebody dies, you've got to get over it because they're gone, and you've got to stay. And I remember when Paul died, I was 29, and people were saying, "Oh, what a tragedy, blah, blah, blah." And he was talking to me every day. He was getting in bed and cuddling with me at night. And I didn't even know how to navigate the world because nobody understood. Like if there had been a helping widows heal back then, that could have really saved my life. But now people who have a child in spirit, they don't have to listen to that stuff that's handed to them about, oh yeah, they're gone, you've got to move on. And some people are don't even want to say their name anymore. At Helping Parents Heal, we talk to and about the kids and the kids in spirit constantly. They are with us, they are alive, they are part of our lives, they're proud of us. That changes the whole perspective on it.
And they attend the meetings with us.
That's right.
You
Ah,
know,
so talk about Marcy.
oh, yes. Well, that's kind of fun. So, in this book, Life to Afterlife, I showed you a picture of Austin. Kim Camacho is one of the first members of Helping Parents Heal, because Austin transitioned right before Morgan did. And he did so in an ATV accident. The other day, Irene was admitting someone into Helping Parents Heal. It's a mom, her name's Marcy. And when she admitted her into the group, she called me and she said, "Oh, this poor woman, her daughter transitioned in an ATV accident." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I've got to get her in touch with Kim Camacho, because Kim has helped so many parents who have had this kind of thing happen." So I immediately reached out to Kim. I asked Marcy if it was okay to connect them, and I did. And then I found out through the fact that I had looked at Marcy's profile that she was in Texas. But Texas is pretty big. And so then, and she wasn't, the name of her town wasn't Austin. It was something like Rocky something. Anyway, so I introduced them and I said, "I hope you guys don't live too far away from each other." And the two of them said, "We live a couple miles down the road from each other,"
Oh, that's so
which is
great.
exactly the way that this kind of thing happens all the time.
Right.
That when I get these parents together, there's some incredible synchronicity that allows for them to be able to spend lots and lots of time together. And so they were both thrilled about this. But even more importantly, when I sent the message initially to Kim about the fact that Marcy would love to speak to her, it arrived in her mailbox at 11:11, which was 9:11 here. I sent it at 9:11 right after yoga. It was 11:11 for her, and that is her big sign
The
from her.
angels. There's so much I love about that because something that I always teach and you teach is about the divine order of this world, even when we can't see it up close. This was the vision I had in 2014 when I had an out-of-body experience, and the angels said, the light is always winning. The light is always greater than the darkness. There's an order to all this, even when you can't see it up close. I've held this vision. My husband's a designer and he designed this, but the angels showed me the light shooting up into the darkness every time we open our hearts. And when we're able to step away from the details of the physical world and breathe into that higher frequency of angels and spirit and God's source of love, we begin to see this is not a tragic, random world the way we like to believe it is here. And once we shift into that higher view, our whole lives change forever. And whether people use numerology, meditation, astrology, whatever they use to help them shift into that view, that's how we heal. That's how we begin to heal. And you do it so beautifully in helping parents heal.
Thank you. It's something that is really fun to know that there are so many different healing modalities. That if one thing that people do doesn't work at all, for
Right,
instance, breath work, boy, I have
right.
a hard time with breath work sometimes
Yeah.
because sometimes it makes you feel a little nauseous. Sometimes it's the best thing possible
Yeah.
for a parent to
I
do.
think it's not for very sensitive people because I've had the same problem as you when I've done intense breath work. I start feeling like I'm dying. I'm leaving my
I'm going to
body.
keel over.
Yes.
But I know that it helps other people really
Right.
well. And in fact, we have a speaker who's a Shining Light mom who's going to be talking about breath work next Tuesday. So I think that it's really important to have all of these different modalities available for parents and for siblings as well as grandparents,
Yeah.
so that they can figure out the way that works best for
I
them.
think the siblings group is really, really important because they have their own particular kind of trauma, their own particular kind of pain, and they tend, to be younger than us parents are. And so the way you bring them together is so healing and so helpful. And they'll be meeting at the conference, right?
I'll
Together.
be at the conference, and Cody Brooks is going to be at the head of all of them, and he's amazing. And he now lives in Phoenix. Initially, he was in Ohio, but he's moved here. And he's so laid back and so fun. But he also does things like taking classes from Drew Calais to become a medium, which is also very cool. So he's fully invested in this afterlife community. He really, really wants to be able to learn as much as he can to communicate with his brother Quinn, which is really good. But yes, I agree that the siblings are wonderful. I think that
The
the dad,
fathers helping fathers heal.
yeah,
Oh, that last summer, I was so blessed to get to go to the Helping Fathers Heal conference and be able to speak to those dads because it was only dads. And I guess siblings, there were some siblings too, but it was only guys.
yeah. Oh, boy,
And
siblings, right?
right. And guys have a certain kind of way. Like you're not going to go in and start talking about angels to these guys. You're going to have to go in and address them in a very different way. And I started my talk with, all right, ask me your hardest questions, the thing you're most upset about, the things that make you most angry. And they were just throwing them at me like, you say that our souls make plans. I would never have planned a lifetime like this. And that's what they always want to know. And I was like, thank you for asking. No, your human mind, your human ego would never choose this, and it didn't, but your higher soul did. So let me help you connect to that higher soul.
It's true. I mean, I think that that's probably one of the biggest
It
questions for
is.
parents in the afterlife community is
It is. Why
why
would
would
I
my
choose this?
why
Right,
would my soul ever have choose this? But
right.
just think of all of the incredible things that we learn. I would never have known that there was an afterlife
Yeah.
if Morgan hadn't
Oh,
transitioned.
yeah, I would not
And
be a person that I would be proud of if Paul and Chrissy had not crossed when I was young and launched me on this spiritual awakening journey. I would just be a very lost human being. So,
well, and speaking of numerology, we were with a group of friends yesterday, and
ah,
we actually were able to help two of these friends because of the fact that Sue brought up numerology, but more importantly, to allow people to understand about the cycles of life,
right.
and that where we are right now is not going to be where we are
Forever. And
forever.
that's such an important point. You know, the reason I love numerology and I've written so many books and I do it all the time is because once you see your personal reinvention cycles, and they're different for everybody, you know, they're 9 year cycles, but when they happen is different. And once you realize that at the end of a cycle, when you hit a 9 year, you're going to feel like you just want to walk away from your life, like nothing is working. That's part of this reinvention, and it's normal. It's on schedule. You actually scheduled it. And so, on the other side of that, is your whole new and better life. And yesterday, one of our girlfriends who's so positive and so optimistic all the time, so happy, just was saying, you know, I feel like giving up everything and walking away from my life. And we were like, what's your birthday? You know, and like, you're in a 9 year. That's exactly what you're supposed to be feeling. Don't worry, this will come to an end.
And
And
then
it really helps people.
we
Yeah,
had another one who said exactly the same thing, and
right.
it turns out that she's also in a 9 years.
It
So,
just validates it,
yeah,
right? Because you can't make this stuff up. You know, my husband and daughter were in a 9 year last year. You know, my daughter Sarah is very iffy about if she believes in numerology because you know how our children are, like they're going to have to find their own way. They can't just follow what mom says. And so she was like poo-poo on all that. And then this past 9 year just broke her open in so many ways. And she would be calling me going, you know, like, when does this end, mom? You know, and so once you can help yourself and others understand those cycles that they're actually serving us, it helps us, especially with grief.
exactly. And I think that that's something that has probably helped a lot of our parents the most is this numerology because it's not something that they have to do the breath. They don't have to do the work in yoga. They don't have to learn how to meditate.
Right.
This is these are just numbers that came from birth. They're so simple. And all you have to do is plug them into Reverend Sue's calculator and find out what your birth year, what year it is of, well, obviously what your birth number is, but then also the year that we're in, for instance, which for me it's a 5 year, which is very exciting. I
I'm
get
gonna have to hire you to be my publicist, Elizabeth.
And it is so it's so reassuring because if you are going through a really hard time
Right,
and then you look at this and figure out, oh, it's because I'm in a 9 year,
right.
that means it's over within a couple months and
That's
then on
right.
to another
But
year.
not only that, there's a call to action in the 9 year, which
Yeah.
is quit clinging to everything. Open your heart, allow things to move as they're going to move. Be graceful, let go of what no longer serves you, whether that's ideas or people or jobs,
Yes.
the flow of that energy.
Like our friend was saying, clean house.
Clean house, right.
Which I think is a great idea. And once
Right.
you've cleaned house, you're going to end up in the 1 year with a much better perspective and situation in
That's
life.
right.
And I just think that it's a very helpful tool. Again, not just for people in general, but especially for parents who have had a child transition, because
Ah,
you also understand that maybe that year that our child transitioned was a particularly difficult year,
right.
but then that would lead to something better
Yeah.
in the future. And again, I think that,
I heard somebody say once that grief is the birth of your true life. And that's a hard thing for people to accept because we have such negative ideas around grief. But look at your life, Elizabeth. Look at all the parents who've come to you because they've been in their moment of darkest pain and how their lives have evolved since then. When we let it, by opening our heart and being open to new ideas, grief becomes our greatest rebirth. So, on that note, what would you like to say in a final statement to all the people who will be listening to this and how they can work with helping parents heal?
well, first of all, I just want to extend an invitation to anyone who is going through this if you have a child or more children, or one or more children who have transitioned, please know that we're here for you and that we welcome you with open arms. We are not going to force you to be super happy when you first join, but I can promise you that you will be happier than when you were not a member of Helping Parents Heal, simply because of the fact that we have so many incredible parents who are a part of Helping Parents Heal, and I know that the kids are helping as well. I think that our kids want us to be happy. Again, they're our biggest cheerleaders. They hold our hands as we walk down the path to healing, and they high five each other when they see us smile. So, the reason that I feel that it's important for me to help other parents to get to that point is because I know that all of these kids are friends with Morgan and Chelsea, and Morgan and Chelsea are telling me, get that mom to join the group, get that dad, because they need to be happy. Their kids are trying to get them to be happy. And at the same time, I think that it's important for everyone to understand that you can take as long as you want
Right.
to be able to go through that period of healing that you need,
That's right.
because it could be 15 years, it could be 3 years, it could be one day for
That's
me.
right.
But the important thing is you take your time, because none of that affects our kids.
Yeah.
The people who are on the other side do not feel that at all. And again, this medium last night was saying that's one thing that I feel is a little hard, that they don't get how hard it is
Mhm.
for us here. But thank heavens they don't. I,
Right.
I feel very happy that they don't feel that sadness.
Yeah.
They just want us to be happy because
And
they
they're so
want
proud of us when we
very
start
proud.
feeling better and meeting other people and opening up to new ideas. The one great gift that Paul, my departed husband, gave me is, he kept dropping in at every period in my life of change and going, you're doing really good, keep going, and giving me these messages that he was proud of me. And when we live by knowing that our departeds are aware of who we are and what we're doing, then we no longer want to waste our life grieving and angry and bitter. We want to make them proud.
We want to make them proud. We want to do things that make them say, hey, that's my mom. Hey,
Right.
that's my dad down there. I mean, this is something that I think about all the time. That and the life review. And that is something that actually came after this whole shared death experience. I realized that I'm going to have a life review, and I want to be able to be really excited about my life review. I
Right.
don't want to
I
be
want to
sad that
pass
I
the
didn't.
test, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't want to be sad that I didn't get the things that I wanted to do done, and that I maybe didn't help people along the way that I should have been helping. So this whole journey is all about loving each other and helping each other. And again, our kids are so proud of us when we do.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. I love you so much. I'm so grateful for the day you walked into my life.
Oh,
It's
me
been a
too.
huge blessing.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
speaking of divine order, the way I met Elizabeth, this is a divine order story. I had been living in Colorado doing my work and doing grief shifting workshops where I helped grieving people connect to their departed and doing all of that and running my business. And my husband, Gene, was diagnosed with cancer. And so we had to sell our home, move to Phoenix, Arizona, because the only treatment at that time that offered him hope was at Mayo. I knew nobody here. And I remember my friends were going, Sue, you're about to turn 70. You're going to go start over in some community where you don't have any friends. And I'm like, I just trust that this is what we're supposed to do right now. So we land here. And of course, Jean is completely healed, which is a miracle. But within about, I don't know, a little while, one of my clients says to me, hey, did you know you're living like a couple miles from Elizabeth Boisson, the founder of Helping Parents Heal? And I was like, what's Helping Parents Heal? Somehow I didn't know. I don't know how I didn't know. And she told me, and it was Gail McCreesh, and she organized a coffee between us, Lynn and Carol. And the moment I met the three of you and we sat down for coffee, I felt like I'd waited my whole life because I had been working my way to the teachings that are what you all are doing. And when we met, I felt like, oh my God, now I know exactly why I'm in Arizona. There's just no random events ever.
Well, we were so excited the day that we met you, and being able to do things with you, Sue, is just so wonderful. And yes, you're right. Your husband is healed, and so this catalyst for you coming here wasn't something that was a bad thing. It's
That's
a
right. It was perfect. Even though at the time of packing up that house with my husband down here for treatment,
breaking your foot.
breaking my foot, and all that was a 9 year, people. I felt like my world was coming to an end. By the time I got here, I was hobbling on one foot with a broken foot. I had cracked ribs. I was a mess. And then life unfolded, and it's so much better. All
And
right,
she's helped
sweetheart.
so many parents ever since she's been here. Anyway, thank you so much for
Thank you.
inviting me.
Love you, baby girl. Thank you.